these are the years 12 through 16 in my Air Force career. And at the same time I was doing Air Force Civil Service. Right before I got the job for Equal Opportunity, which I did an interview for, I was doing training, PERSCO training, personnel. Oh gosh, I went blank on what PERSCO stands for. Personnel, it'll come back to me. Anyway, I was a trainer, can you believe that? And I did that for about 2 years. It was an extra duty that I did, and I enjoyed it. But my eyes were on Equal Opportunity. And I interviewed, I got the job, I was a captain. About a year into that job, I went to the technical training, which is at Patrick Air Force Base, and it was for 3 full months on active duty. And my classmates were Army, Navy, Coast Guard, Marines, Air Force. It was total force, all service branches, and I really enjoyed that. Army people are awesome people to hang out with, classmates as well. So are the other branches as well. And that was at Patrick Air Force Base. I was also a Department of Defense mediator, and I got that through that course as well. On the civilian side, my boss came up to me and said, hey, do you want to be a financial counselor? If the answer is yes, here's what you have to do. You have to complete the course, you have to take your tests, and then it'll be a duty that you have to perform at work on my civilian job here at the Airmen and Family Readiness Center. And I said, of course, because I always loved finances. And this was a time where I could do it eventually as my primary job for the Air Force Civil Service side. And I did that for 6 years. That, of course, goes into past the 16-year mark of this video. That my customers were service members, all branches, and sometimes their family members as well. And I would counsel them, which is not a bad word, on finances. I would listen to them, ask them what their goals are, write notes, give them options, have them think differently, whether it was budgeting or investing. That's what I did. On the reserve side, I went to school and I started my job. I got promoted to major. That was a good thing. I was happy about that. And then I came back to Peterson Air Force Base, and I had an opportunity to go to training to Maxwell Air Force Base, Alabama, where I spent 6 years, and I have a lot of friends there. And the training was bystander intervention training, BIT. Think of it like this. That TV show, What Would You Do, where they have hidden cameras. The training is how to prevent sexual assault, awareness, proper behavior around the clock. Not just when you're in uniform. And my customers were military members, total force, active guard, reserve, civilians as well, and sometimes contractors. I would teach the male side of the training. It was about an hour and a half every single week for 2 years. And they offered me a TDY to Hawaii afterwards, but I declined that because I knew that after the 2 years I wanted to move in a different direction and do something else. Equal Opportunity was a job that I did for 3 years, and I could have continued, but at the 3-year mark, I knew it was time to do something different. And I told my Air Force boss, I said, I'm looking for an assignment. Do you have anything here? I don't want to do personnel because that's what I've done my entire career. I want to do something on the services side. A few years ago, maybe close to 10 years now, personnel and services merged together. So you have 2 different sides of the Force Support Squadron. So I told my boss, I want to do something on the services side. And that's what I did, and I'll get to that in the last 16 to 21 years video, the final video of this series. So I did, like I said, Equal Opportunity. And then at the same time I was doing my civilian job for the Air Force. I looked for another deployment, and I found a deployment, and my leadership supported me, but by the time they approved my paperwork and sent it, my application and their approval, somebody else had already filled that slot. So here I was, almost at the 16-year mark, where I had never been on a deployment. And that's something that I've always wanted to do. It just never worked out. When I go into the final video, 16 through 21 years of service, I'm going to talk about what the opportunity I had when I went looking for a deployment and that didn't go through. I was contacted by someone at Air Reserve Personnel Center saying, hey, we have an opportunity for you here. Are you interested? I'll talk about that in just a moment. On the civilian side, like I said, I was doing both, and I did financial counseling for 6 years.